This is hell.
Greetings, my tricksters and treaters. It's my favorite time of the year once more. The weather cools down, the fall fragrances flow from a candle's flame, and the atmosphere of the surrounding environment shifts. We obviously have the final day of October to thank for the frightful festivities. The holiday of Halloween brings with it more than just the things I've already named. For just as with any beloved holiday, Halloween carries with it traditions. Traditions that we carry with us on a personal level. You can keep your turkey dinners in November, take your Christmas trees and gingerbread houses. These things are meaningless to me in the shadow of the grand beauty of my favorite holiday tradition, the one I have held on to tightly since I was a child. And no, it's not trick-or-treating. My true love for our hallowed holiday rests exclusively within the living room television, so no need to get up or touch that dial. Grab a comfy blanket and a warm drink. Tonight, I'm busting out my own little tier list and inviting you to partake in my festivities. I'm TheHairiestHare, and before I creep back into the dark, I have one last tradition to impart. Let us gather around the television as we begin a brand new tradition. Witness that which rejuvenates this decrepit vessel. Tonight, we observe a batch of Halloween specials. First on the chopping block is an all-time favorite. The show Codename Kids Next Door is kind of hard to describe, but the vibes are basically a mashup of concepts like spies, soldiers, and other kid-centric obsessions, all slammed into an organization of children who use their crazy gadgets and wit to defeat supervillain adults. Sometimes the villain is a dentist, other times it's the lunch lady. If there was something you hated as a kid, the K&D proposes that it was a deliberately evil concept formed by a vile cabal of adult masterminds. I could go on and on about this show, but I'll cut myself short here. Kids Next Door is my favorite cartoon ever. Of all time. So naturally, we gotta see what their Halloween episode looks like. The episode Operation Tricky is mostly about number 4, being a stick in the mud and hating trick-or-treating, while the rest of the treehouse mocks him. Eventually, number 4 lays down the challenge that he could get more candy than all the other members combined. And with that, the bet is accepted. The other characters have varied levels of fun costumes, but the standout is number 1's Borg attire. The show often goes for Star Trek references, but this one might be my favorite due to my Next Generation bias. Usually with episodes like this that lean more on the mundane side, Kids Next Door's writing pulls a sort of twist. And just on the premise alone, you would expect the episode to swerve into that kind of territory. Trick-or-treating is, after all, a tradition of children dressing up and begging adults for candy. The Kids Next Door's whole shtick is opposing adults and their tyranny, so you would think they'd do something with that. Instead, while there is a sort of derailment of the plot, it's not the usual Kids Next Door twist. Number 4 attempts to trick-or-treat with minimal effort, clearly unsure of how this thing even works, but just so happens to meet the most bizarre and giddiest adults ever. The eccentric couple reward him with one measly piece of butterscotch, and much to my surprise, number 4 takes it really well.
Cool! Trick-or-treating rocks!
Number 4's character is usually depicted as being a block-headed ball of criticism, so to see him look at this one piece of candy as a motivation rather than him being stingy does kind of warm my heart. The next house, however, is not as welcoming to number 4, as it's revealed to be recurring villain Captain Sticky Beard, who swipes his candy. Their house disguise lacks any sort of subtlety, and is the kind of non-joke that really tickles someone like me. What number 4 lacks in intelligence, he makes up for in blind, furious stubbornness, so he's getting back his candy. The pirates set up at another home, and number 4 lures them into pulling the same trick. But this time, number 4 is the candy. The pirates toss him into the horde without checking, and while a viewer would see this as a victory,
Oh, great! How am I gonna find my bag in all this candy?
somehow number 4 does find his bag in all this candy, and it's not until he's off the ship that reality starts to sink in. He did all of this for one lousy piece of butterscotch. So one last time, number 4 tricks the pirates with a massively oversized bag, baiting the pirates to leave their ship. The bag turns out to be filled with bricks. Now, here's where I'm gonna begrudgingly bring up the character that number 4 bumps into next, Dumb John Silver. Dumb John Silver is a character that, as far as I'm aware, does not appear anywhere anywhere else in the series. He is just here throughout the episode as a really lame punching bag, and I've skipped over his appearance mainly out of embarrassment. His pointless emotional arc ends right here when number 4 finds him, and John quits the pirates. It was pointless, not funny, and kind of a bummer. Sorry, Kids Next Door, but you're losing points for that one. Number 4 grabs the wheel and begins to sail the ship away when he's suddenly jumped by Stickybeard's French lackeys, Chewy and Gooey. The lads tussle for a bit and only stop once they notice that the ship is heading straight for a cliff. The Frenchmen leap off, and number 4 helplessly soars into the sky as we fade to black. The rest of the crew return to the treehouse with their candy bounties. Number 3 hopes they didn't beat number 4 too badly. Number 2 remarks that 4 probably only got one measly piece of butterscotch, despite clearly holding up a peppermint at that moment.
He probably got like one measly piece of butterscotch?
The stolen vessel and its immense bounty careen into the treehouse and spill everywhere. Fade to black one more time as number 4 asks who's gonna help the winner sort his candy.
Hey, number 2, is that butterscotch? I'll trade ya.
Alright, so my thoughts. Overall, it's a great start to the season. It's a tale about a kid who doesn't see the value in Halloween, learning to enjoy it by the end. Even if that journey is told in a very Kids Next Door, peculiar kind of way, my only downsides are that the show is usually a little zanier, while this episode kept things more toned down. On top of that, dumb John Silver, man, I don't know. I like a bumbling character sometimes, but this one just didn't do it for me. It felt really mean for just no reason. The episode equally feels limited with how often we return to the well, hitting the same narrative beats over and over. And yet, despite my criticisms, I do enjoy how quick and digestible this one is. Its funny bits do still hit, and number 4 is just the kind of character I like to watch fumble around for 11 minutes. A decent start to the night. I'll give it a rating of good. Okay, this is maybe one of the most chaotic episodes of television I have ever seen. Insanity turned up to 11. And I promise you, no matter how I try to convey it to you, it will never come across as crazy as it feels. So buckle in. I'm gonna give this to you in the most digestible way possible. Sabrina the Teenage Witch was an American sitcom that had a pretty decent lifespan. My only real attachment to this show is that it is loosely based on the Archie comic series, which I used to be a fan of back in the day. You would expect that Sabrina episodes follow a similar structure to something like Wizards of Waverly Place, where Sabrina uses her magic when she shouldn't, and the other characters are trying to either help her or catch her. And it does dip into that realm often, but this episode is not that. Not at all. Our current adventure is dubbed Good Will Hunting. And I have no idea why. We get a very cute opening by Salem the cat doing a silly Alfred Hitchcock impression. It's divorced from the episode entirely and is just used to get us in the spooky mood, and I'm all here for that, especially because I vibe with Salem's rigid puppetry. But then we get into the episode proper. Sabrina's aunts Zelda and Hilda have been invited to Aunt Beulah's Halloween party. Apparently, it's an annual event that they've been avoiding for 500 years. They've never even met this mysterious Aunt Beulah. At school, Sabrina is convinced, coerced, and almost forced to host a scary movie watch party with her friend Valerie and some quote-unquote cute guys. So, that night, Sabrina convinces her aunts to let her stay home while they head off to the party. Because we're dealing with both magic and sitcom time restraints, as soon as her aunts say she can stay home, a present instantly appears for Sabrina. A sort of sorry you couldn't make it present. It's a Molly Dolly. More on that later. The aunts are ushered away via the magical closet. Immediately as they exit, Valerie arrives with no costume. Boo! Then the lads show up in full costume and makeup. Cheer! As she welcomes them in, Sabrina sees that the Molly Dolly is on the stairs now. Laughing it off as a prank by Salem, she callously tosses it up the stairs. Meanwhile, Zelda and Hilda arrive at Aunt Beulah's home. Or is it? I'm not going to go into extreme detail. Trust me, that version of the script was a nightmare. But we now bounce from one setting to the other. The aunts bump into increasingly bizarre characters after meeting Aunt Beulah. The pair get freaked out enough to make their exit, but the partygoers insist that the pair cannot leave. Over on Sabrina's side, the Molly Dolly, voiced by Tara Strong, more from her later, speaks.
I'm a Molly Dolly.
She's some kind of haunted doll, antagonizing Sabrina. Molly Dolly gets increasingly more president Molly Dolly gets increasingly more present. Oh my god, what is wrong with me? Molly Dolly gets increasingly more present and violent while Sabrina tries to keep her hidden from the house guests. The doll traps Salem a few times, locks the doors, and shocks Sabrina when she tries to open it. Eventually, the doll is agitated enough to summon monsters to the house. A Frankenstein monster and a mummy, which cutely matches the quote-unquote cute guys' costumes. There's also a werewolf man at one point, but look, I don't want to get into it. Going back to the asylum, when we were introduced to the party's deranged cast, I was, and still am, just so confused. The studio audience seems to know and like these people, or perhaps they're getting a joke that is foreign to my modern mind. Either way, I'm not going to say there aren't some entertaining winners in this bunch, but I am going to say that it's almost too zany for my tastes. Speaking of zany, the two locations cut between each other as we have our obligatory wacky chase scenes with music overlaid. Look at them go, I say, so thoroughly enthused. To conclude the chase, the aunts make a wrong turn and land in the waiting arms of the asylum patients. A mad scientist type then claims he's going to swap their minds with chickens. That is the plot now. Sabrina finally catches the Molly Dolly, but decides she's in over her head, as she doesn't know how to actually defeat it. She decides to teleport to Aunt Beulah's.
You don't toy with Sabrina, especially if you're a toy.
Really?
Next up, crazy.
When she gets there, the aunts have already been switched with the chickens. No one makes too big a deal of it, of course. But to make matters even stranger, Aunt Beulah reveals that it's not actually an asylum. It was just a themed party, and everyone was basically method acting really hard. Okay. Sabrina scoops up the chickens and returns home with Aunt Beulah. To settle the issue with the Molly Dolly, Beulah sings really loud. The Molly Dolly then says she'll stop terrorizing if Beulah stops singing. Beulah agrees. So Molly Dolly calls the terror squad off.
Okay, guys, pack it up. Party's over.
Beulah compliments Molly Dolly's usage of the werewolf guy, but Molly says she never summoned a werewolf. The wolf man walks out the door with Salem, and we cut to our final commercial break. For all intents and purposes, that's the episode. It's over. I don't know, man. What more do you want me to say? That's beat for beat what happens. The final bit played underneath credits is Salem waking up at the beginning of the episode. If you can even remember what that was like by now, realizing he's in a time loop, because sure, I guess so. I'm gonna take a drink after all that. Whew. Every time I have attempted to write out my notes on this episode, it derails into nonsense. This video got delayed 2 years, and pretty much the only reason is because of this episode right here. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You got the condensed and sensible version of an experience that I find to be almost unrelatable in its absurdity. And you know what baffles me the most? If you read the episode guide on Google, for some insane reason, the plot is listed as such. Season 3, Episode 6, Good Will Haunting. Valerie invites Justin and Harvey to Sabrina's to watch scary videos at Halloween. But they get to the video shop too late, and all that's left is the bridges of Madison County. Which, like, yes, that did happen, but the video shop thing is one line said by the boys when they arrive.
The remains of the day, Enchanted April, the bridges of Madison County.
Sorry, we got to the movie store kind of late, and these were the only scary movies we could find.
What does any of this have to do with anything that happened? Let me push through that to give you an actual thought on the matter. This episode does well in evoking the general Halloween spirit. We saw a mummy and a Frankenstein's monster. We saw costumes. We got strange and spooky decorations, a haunted doll, the time-old tradition of watching scary movies with some popcorn and friends, a wacky and wild adventure in a spooky insane asylum. We even got trick-or-treaters pelting the house with eggs. A lot of Halloween is there, but it's all tied together in the most incomprehensible and insane plot structure I've ever seen. And maybe every episode of Sabrina is like this, I don't know. What I do know is that I probably wouldn't return to this one often, unless I'm putting it on as background noise or I'm deliberately trying to show someone just how crazy this episode is. Having all the hallmarks of Halloween does not inherently give your episode the Halloween spirit. And this episode is just so much crammed into something that could have been simple. So with all that, sorry Sabrina, not even Salem can save you this time. I'm giving you a rating of bad.
Bad.
Go, go, Power Rangers! To torture myself further, let's go from one show filled with nonsense straight into one, almost guaranteed to fall into that same department. When I was a kid, I was a bona fide Power Rangers hater. As I got older and fell in love with campier stuff, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers just seems like my kind of flavor. So don't worry, I have turned from the path of darkness. And while I don't know too much overall, I know the important bits. Every episode has a flimsy build-up to a big fight. The bad guy gets an upgrade, the Rangers get in their mech to fight the upgraded bad guy. We advertise a mass market of toys and gadgets along the way. Skull and Bulk do something farty and smelly. The Green Ranger is a crowd favorite. Alpha 5 is a cool dude. And Kimberly. I needn't say more. This episode of Power Rangers is titled Life's a Masquerade. We start this particular episode where most do, the Angel Grove Youth Center, setting up for the big Halloween costume party. The gang get their good guy points while Bulk and Skull earn their goober points. Hard cut to the villain's moon lair where they churn out their latest evil creation to ruin the party. Yet they don't send just any generic monster. No, they send out the generic monster, Frankenstein's monster. I'm noticing an accidental running theme here. The episode continues to build its setup as it shows our cast in their costumes for the night, all except Tommy. Bulk and Skull give us a glorious retrospective look at a vintage fat jiggling machine, then quickly montage through a selection of costumes, eventually landing on two versions of Elvis. We cut ahead to the party and I struggle to ignore the bait here, but one of our high schoolers is going to the party shirtless, and our Vietnamese ranger is dressed as a Native American. All I'll say is, the 90s were a wild time. At the party, Bulk and Skull arrive in their standard attire, deciding that their best fit would be to dress as punks, which is what they always are. Alpha 5 even shows up under the guise of Halloween's costumed events, and seems to be a big hit with the ladies. Our monster finally makes his appearance, but the gang assume it's the ever-missing Tommy. Where is that guy? Oh, he's getting jumped, out there fighting his own gang of enemies. He's so cool and loner-coded. The monster leaves the party, enticing Blue Ranger to leave and catch Rita Repulsa up to no good. She retreats, Blue gets beat up for a second, then he retreats, and the gang finally suits up to fight Frankie. Almost immediately, Rita gives the big guy an upgrade to make him an even bigger guy. So, to match his size, the Rangers call in their Megazord. See? Told you I know how these episodes go. Tommy, finally getting the opportunity to transform and join the fight, assists the Rangers who are getting absolutely jobbed out. They don't make much headway though. Frankenstein fella has a bizarre bad breath move, and best of all, check this, neck bolt nunchucks. Is that not the raddest thing ever? I think it's cool, I don't need your opinion. Naturally, Dragonzord and Megazord combine to make Battle Mode Megazord, and that gives them the power they need to stab him with their drill staff, leaving a rough CG effect. The saving grace of this scene being Rita's immaculate reaction.
Oh, I have such a headache, I just can't stand it.
Okay, I won't lie to you guys. I don't love the Power Rangers formula. It's mostly the same thing over and over, and while I get that it's a kid's show, I don't really accept that as an excuse to have simple, formulaic writing. Not every kid can detect it, but when I was young, I did. And for all the charm this show has, I just wish there was more meat for adult me to chew on. I wish there was any meat for adult me to chew on. The gang reconvene at the party, complaining about how hot and cool Alpha is. Even Bulk and Skull join in on the complaints. The monster returns, only for it to be revealed as Tommy, who apparently had a similar idea for a costume. The winner of the party's big costume contest is announced, and of course, it's Alpha 5. The ladies beg to know who's under the mask. Bulk and Skull want to know too. Alpha takes off running from the party, and we close with a nice end of the episode laugh. Ha 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 ha. Okay, time for thoughts. The plot for this special was very minimal, but it did well with hitting the highlights. We got to see our familiar characters in costumes. We had some Halloween-y backdrops, and best of all, they smartly chose to use Super Sentai's footage of a Frankenstein's monster-looking villain for their Halloween episode. It's kind of a win-win in a lot of regards, and thinking about it, I probably would be willing to put this episode on again, but not to hold my full attention. It's excellent background noise for sure, but it's still missing something. But then again, Kimberly. So I'll be generous and give it a rating of good. Garfield, Garfield time. Let's get back to cartoons for a moment. Can we get back to cartoons? Garfield is a beloved, hated, and worshipped icon of pop culture, and his image has been widely circulated to the point that I think, if you've ever been online, you know what this guy is all about. Our orange cat friend has had many different television outings, and the following episode comes from one of his earliest. Airing in 1985 under the original title of Garfield in Disguise, it's a TV special that plenty consider a classic in the realm of Halloween specials. How do I feel about it? Well, the thing to note about Garfield's Halloween adventure is that it's a quick romp through a lot of classic Halloween tropes, all with a sort of disconnected laziness to them, which sounds apropos, but that's not quite what I mean. You'll see soon enough. Garfield is awoken in the morning by Binky the Clown, who reminds his alleged child audience that they don't want to be fat and lazy, especially since tonight they'll be gorging themselves on candy. Garfield is delighted by the reminder that tonight is Halloween. The rest of the episode is rather simple in scope. Garfield has a scene where he pesters John about his plans to go trick-or-treating. Then he recruits Odie, realizing that having 2 bags means double the candy. Garfield and Odie enter the attic to try to find some costumes. They montage through a few, but Garfield ultimately lands on a pirate theme. Man, a lot of that tonight too. They hit the streets, get spooked a few times, and eventually fill up on candy. Garfield's greed gets the best of them, however, as he makes a snap decision to cross a body of water and find more houses to plunder. The two somehow find themselves stranded until they rock up on the shore of a spooky, somewhat abandoned home. Except no, there's an old man with a higher animation budget. Ah! He tells the stray animals about a ghost pirate treasure that was buried here 100 years ago, warning them that the pirates will be coming back for it tonight. While the animals are distracted, the old man commandeers their ship full of candy, and the two are left helpless as the pirates' spirits return. Big ghost scares occur, and the pair attempt to flee the island, but Garfield can't swim, so Odie has to drag him to shore. The two slump back home, tired and defeated, until they spot their now abandoned boat, still containing the bags of treats. When they get home, Garfield thanks Odie for saving his life by doing the right thing and giving him his half of the candy. As in, Garfield allows Odie to have the half of the candy that Odie collected, not Garfield's half. Garfield flicks the TV on to see the old man from the house welcoming his viewers back to a pirate movie marathon. Garfield clicks the TV off and refuses to spare another thought on the situation. With that, we close. Okay, but before I even address anything that happened there in that last half, I've got a completely different bone to pick with this one. This TV special is all over the place in a lot of ways. It wants to try its hand at several tropes, but never commits fully. I get whiplash every time, right after the moment Garfield realizes tonight is a night to get candy. He jumps out of bed and starts to dance. A song plays, somewhat sung from his perspective, but not in his voice.
This is a night.
This is the night
I was created for.
Okay, I thought on my first viewing, this is just the funky little intro to get you into the mood. It's not very Halloween themed, but that's fine. The mood is now set, and once the song is over, we can settle in for a commercial break. The thing that continues to baffle me is that this is not the last song in the special. Most songs are sung from the perspective of Garfield, but he only actually sings in a couple of them. And while he's not known for his singing abilities, I actually preferred these moments.
So what should I be? What could I be? What should I be?
Because otherwise, it's a much more talented jazz number that ends up feeling, to me, rather unmemorable.
I may be selfish, yeah, and all of that, but the one thing I'm not is a scaredy cat.
A disembodied and foreign voice that has no relevance to our characters leaves me feeling just as disconnected. Who is this man? Why is he singing? And to double up on my nits to pick, I don't think I would even take issue if this special was some kind of jukebox musical. But it's so very much not that. The problem I take is that it loads all of the musical numbers into the first half and then completely forgets about sing-songs by the last chunk. The old man? No foreboding jam. The pirate pirate ghosts? No shanty. Not even a what did we learn song to close us out. The forgetfulness of the format just makes me ask, why are there any songs at all if we're just going to forget about them by the end? Like, imagine a Disney film that just forgets it's a musical halfway through. Even if you don't like musicals, you would detect the absence. It's weird. Sorry if that's a specific axe to grind with this childhood classic, but I promise that regardless of my age, I would have been asking this question. And regardless of how many times I've put this on, I'm still scratching my head over it. Like I said, a toe is dipped into many pools with this one, but it commits to very little. Garfield's Halloween adventure is a tale constructed of loose ideas, threaded together in a sort of distracted way. It almost comes across as a sort of Garfield's Halloween Odyssey. However, I think this special is a good example of a problem a lot of these cartoons had at the time. Ideas on a board with no real substance to connect anything. Garfield is originally a comic strip that attempted to tell funny bits in the format of sets of 3 or 7 panels. Even with that established format, Garfield is often unable to capture its own sense of humor or identity. So when you try to stretch that into a show, the results are probably going to look similar. Garfield's Halloween Adventure is allegedly one of the first specials to not pull from Garfield's comic strips for inspiration. And if that's the case, then where's the plot? Where's the arc? Where's the Halloween spirit? To combat myself real quick, there is an arc, and the arc is that Garfield learns to be a little less greedy. But does that really matter in the span of a show whose character's one of his main motivating factors is that he's greedy? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. This special really could have benefited from finding a focus, picking one trope and committing to it rather than trying to go down multiple lanes. You want some examples? Garfield goes out on Halloween and has to learn to overcome a fear of folks in costumes. Garfield accidentally finds himself in an old house haunted by pirate ghosts. Garfield's candy greed threatens Odie's safety, and he has to sacrifice his desires to do the right thing. Instead, they chose to go down all of these routes, and so stuff just kind of happened. I think I only linger on this one for so long because I see so much potential here. I wanted to like this one. I could see someone treasuring their VHS copy of the special like it's the holy grail, and I do get it. Really, I do. It is certainly a classic, but I yearn for more. That earns Garfield the title of meh.
This was the worst night of my life.
Whoo-wee. This one here's a real stinker. Hannah Montana is a show about a girl named Miley who leads a double life as a pop star. She slaps on a blonde wig and even gives her best friend Lily an ugly purple one, calling her Lola. And the two are suddenly unrecognizable to the public. In the context of the show, Hannah Montana is the biggest of deals. Pop star to a degree unprecedented. A lot of the show's main conflicts revolve around this secret identity, which makes it seem like it's more trouble than it's worth. Regardless, that's pretty much the whole shebang. I watched a decent amount of this show as a child, but if we're being realistic, I probably watched more Jim and the Holograms, which has a similar premise but very different execution. And boy, do I wish that's what I was watching instead. This episode is torn between two Mileys. Miley Stewart is given the dreadful news that her cousin, Luann Stewart, is coming to visit. Miley gives a stink about it, claiming that Luann has always been torturous to her throughout their youth, namely a time when Luann threw her down a well. Allegedly. Naturally, when Luann arrives, she's kind, sweet, and identical to her cousin.
How can you say that? I am nothing like that horrible, ugly witch. Howdy, cuz.
Throughout the episode, they do a good enough job of making the two Mileys convincing, clearly using the oldest of tricks, but still, the editing does exceedingly well to hide any problem areas. The cousins come at obvious odds in the A-plot as Miley attempts to accuse Luann of some sort of evil trickery, while Luann wins over the hearts of Miley's friends and family, even potentially spurring a love interest with one of Miley's friends, Oliver. After enough convincing that Luann isn't evil, Miley reconciles with Luann by inviting her to tag along with Hannah and Lola to a Halloween party. After a quick transition, we see Hannah Montana and Lola suited up and heading out for the party. The two go to leave until Miley remembers she forgot something. She abandons Lola so that she can villainously reveal something waiting in the revolving closet. A hog-tied Hannah Montana. Luann has fooled them all, and now, dressed as Hannah Montana, she's going to ruin her reputation at the party. Gasp! Gasp, I say! At the party, which turns out to be a Hannah Montana themed party, Luann does just that, even getting so cocky as to reveal herself to Lola, who, I'll remind you, is Miley's best friend. Lola thinks she's figured out the plan. Luann is going to reveal the big secret. She's going to tell the world that Hannah Montana is Miley Cyrus, Stewart. Luann realizes she hadn't even thought of that, now accepting it as her end goal. Back at the house, Miley finally escapes and finds Oliver. The two run off to the party to confront Luann. At the party, they arrive just before it's too late. Oliver shuts out the lights and the two Mileys get swapped around. Which one do I shoot? Oliver deduces how to tell them apart. They have to kiss him. Luann excitingly accepts the challenge, while Miley cringes in disgust, revealing which one is the real Hannah.
Okay. Ew.
That's Smiley.
Problem solved. Fade to black. Now, do you feel like something's missing? I only once said the word Halloween. That's because outside of calling the Hannah Montana party a Halloween party once or twice, the entire Halloween portion of this story has been relegated to the B-plot. And the B-plot is something else entirely. At home, completely unrelated to the events of the A-plot, Miley's brother Jackson and father Robbie Ray are attempting to put together the scariest house in the neighborhood. Their efforts are further spurred on by their neighbor, who continually enters to taunt them about how his house is going to be so much scarier. As the episode progresses, the two try more and more lame attempts at being scary. By the end of the episode, they've managed it, having a house so frightening that the trick-or-treaters run away screaming. The parents step in to berate the Stewarts. How dare they scare these kids? Robbie tries to explain that they're just trying to compete with the neighbor, but the parents are baffled at this claim. You mean Mr. Happy Pumpkin Man?
Who?
Hey, kids!
The neighbor enters in a bulbous and innocent costume, rallying to the kids' sides. He tricked the Stewarts into looking like deranged fools, while the neighbor's place is allegedly lighthearted and kind. We don't get to see this, though, because we only have a few sets. To get a form of revenge, somewhere off screen, Robbie drives more and more children to the home until the neighbor comes begging for help. Help that is never given. So, yeah, time for thoughts. All the Halloween stuff we did get was okay, but it's so pushed to the side that I can't help but think this episode was already written and in the works before they decided to make it a Halloween special at the final hour. Forgiving the Disney live-action overacting and such, I think it's a fine episode, but is it really Halloween? No. The parts that were Halloween were okay, but there's just not enough in there for me to sink my teeth into. I didn't like this one, I'm sorry. On the bright side, I was worried we'd never get something this disappointing, so congrats to Hannah Montana for being the first one to go in the pile of very bad. Here we are, the final stop. Out of all Halloween specials to close out the night, I'm so glad it's this one. The Fairly Odd Parents is a fairly simple show. I like what I did there. Timmy Turner has fairy godparents that grant his every wish, except when they don't. Every episode involves said wishes and their copious consequences. Fairly standard stuff there. What sets Odd Parents apart from most contemporaries, especially at this point in the series, is its clever usage of assets and even more clever writing. Tonight's episode is Scary Godparents. We begin with an episode of Crash Nebula as Pumpkin Planet is destroyed by the Pumpkinator, a big pumpkin mech made up of 4 color-coded Jacobots. My God, we have a lot of recurring bits tonight. Pull out to Timmy gushing about how cool the villains of the show are and, seriously, felt. Timmy wishes he had a Jacobot costume, only to be denied. There are only 4 in existence, and they were won in a contest, which is like doubled up on Against the Rules. Timmy and his friends are stuck with their quote-unquote lame costumes, while the rich kids who clearly bribed their way into winning the contest get to wear their Jacobot costumes. To make matters even worse, the wealthy children get special treatment for their costumes. Throughout the episode, Timmy will be adamant, like many cartoon characters are, that Halloween is about wearing something truly scary. A sentiment that I've never really shared, but for the sake of this episode, I'll let it go. Evil babysitter Vicky shows up to take the kids out trick-or-treating and wraps Timmy up in toilet paper, thus giving him his costume for the night. They hit the streets. Even Cosmo and Wanda, the fairies that usually keep hidden, are out and about, celebrating in costume. Vicky puts them to work as well, expecting a 70-30 split on the candy take. which is honestly a lot more fair than you would expect from her. Dissatisfied with the goodies they're getting and how Halloween has been going overall, Timmy makes the big wish of the episode. He wishes that everyone's costumes were real and scary, transforming everyone into realistic and/or nightmarish versions of their costumes. This is yet another special to include singing. After my discussion of Garfield, you might expect me to start docking points. Yet Oddparents chose a much more viable route with their song additions, or should I say, addition, because there's only one number, a song where Timmy expresses that Halloween is about the real and the scary, while getting backup singing from his fairies. And I kinda like it. I'm always willing to give a pass to a song, good or bad, if it's just a one-time thing. But this song isn't of high nor low quality. It's well written and adequately performed. Most importantly, it gets me in the mood. So it's absolutely doing its job and doing it well. The rest of the plot, while simplistic, manages to include the Yugopotamians into the episode. They're an alien race met previously in the show who are defeated by all things cute, sweet, and pretty. Their inclusion is like perfect for Halloween. With humans gathering bags of candy, the aliens mistake them for weapons, thinking Earth is preparing for intergalactic war. Despite how incredible the coincidence is and how excellent the characters are, they don't really have much to do with the plot. The main reason they are written in at all is to get the fan favorite Mark Chang to make an appearance. He lands on Earth with the sole intention of getting Vicky, his beloved, off planet before its doom, because, as always, Timmy's wish has backfired. When he wished for everyone's costumes to be real and scary, it transformed the rich kids into the actual Jacobots. Now, their mission is to combine and form the Pumpkinators so that, just like in the episode intro, they can detonate the planet. The stakes get higher. Cosmo and Wanda were equally affected by the wish, causing them to no longer be fairies, which means Timmy has to find a way to beat the big boss himself. Now, it's gonna sound contrived when I just explain it beat for beat, but the rest of the episode has a series of moments that all flow from one into the other in the most natural way possible, while also remaining extremely dynamic. Just trust me on this. The episode is way better than any summary could possibly provide. Without a wish, Timmy has his mummified head tossed into a clearance bin of costumes, while Cosmo keeps the Yugopotamians from leaving the planet by saying he's a ship inspector who suddenly has to take his break. A break he enjoys with a pillow and a nap. You are what you wear in this world, so the collection of costumes turns Timmy into a blend of multiple characters. With these powerful upgrades, he takes on the big bad before it can blow. During the fight, Timmy uses his giant Dracula fangs on the robot, but their metal exterior causes a fang to pop off. At first, it just seems like some gross out humor, but when all hope is nearly lost, Wanda has a realization. If you are what you wear, she grabs the pillow from Cosmo and puts it on top of the giant fang. This summons the Tooth Fairy, who stops to marvel at the size of the tooth. Wanda snatches his crown, transforming back into a fairy. At the last possible moment, she undoes the wish and returns everyone to normal. It's not over though. Our final plot beat to end the episode occurs when the Yugopotamians tell Timmy they thought humans were preparing for war with all their candy and costumes. Timmy lies, saying that they were doing just that. So the aliens retreat. Before they exit Earth's atmosphere, they unleash their ultimate weapon, a giant piñata that explodes, showering Dimsdale and candy. Timmy shouts that it's the best Halloween ever, and on that, I think I agree. While the episode requires some fairly Oddparents knowledge, and that might take away from a random viewing experience, I think it does a decent enough job of also keeping viewers in the loop while juggling its wide cast of characters. The plot of the episode does seem insane on paper, but it moves so much more naturally when watching it, which can't be said for some of our other entries here tonight. Scary Godparents has a plot focused on Halloween costumes. It has candy and trick-or-treating. It has a spooky atmosphere. It has our characters dressed in alternate attire. It blends everything about the show into a competent and genuinely enjoyable episode of television. I think it doesn't get much better than this. Scary Godparents has everything I'm looking for in a Halloween special, and then some. It lights my proverbial fire and gets me excited for the month ahead. No matter how many times I've seen it, I'm ready to see it again. For having all the hallmarks of a Halloween classic and exceeding my expectations, I think this episode deserves nothing less than my rarest award. This episode is perfect.
That's what Halloween is all about.
And what better way to end it than that? Though we've only scratched the surface of Halloween specials, I hope you've enjoyed your time here enough to have me back next year to see if we can unearth some more ancient treasures. Slowly, we can accumulate an insane roster of episodes on our ranking list. What's your favorite Halloween special episode? Sound off in the comments below, and maybe you'll see it in a future installment of Hair's Haunting Hour. In the meantime, I'll slump back onto my slab and await the next lightning strike of inspiration. Catch you in the shadows. Be excellent to each other.